Hey guys, and thanks for coming with such short notice here. I had a thing I wanted to show you guys, the reason why I invited you here. And it has to do with this keyboard in front of me. It's about performing. As you know, I'm not a big fan of performing live. Maybe just because I've been too scared about it or nervous. But lately I've been thinking about it more, and I think that I actually want to do some performing in the future. So I wanted to maybe play you guys one song, if that's okay. And I wanted to ramble a little bit about performing and performativity in general, because I think I had this pretty interesting thought process about it. You see, my view on performativity in life has been changing ever so slightly. Like, as a kid, I had all these masks on, as you do. And then later on in life, I felt like I need to be like the most authentic version of myself, and saw that authenticity kind of like a value. But maybe there is some truth to both of these sides. It's kind of like a Venn diagram with the truth being in the middle. I heard about this term. I think it was coined in France, maybe in like the 19th century. But the term was public persona. And what does public persona mean? Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's basically this distinction between your persona to your own personal self and then the public version of you. And I think that's what happens pretty much everywhere in general, but maybe it happens more subconsciously usually. And I had this idea that what if we make ourselves more aware of these different personas? Maybe it can be kind of like helpful, beneficial to us. Because it kind of like makes us understand that maybe the idea of ourselves, the persona we have, is actually a bit more malleable than we usually think. Because kind of like our ego has this need to fill all the holes, all the logic gaps and stuff. And when it's set to a kind of like a truth, it can move on to the next thing. But with doing that, we are kind of like left with this idea of us that is maybe a bit more stagnant than the reality underlying everything is. And maybe this play with persona could be regarded kind of like a play. That maybe it's kind of like a playground where we could play around with different viewpoints in life and see how we could react differently to different situations and stuff. And if we are aware doing that, maybe it can be kind of like a breeding ground for a lot of new ideas and self-improvement as well. Last week I was at the playground with my godson, and I was looking at him playing and kind of like noticing how they make these rules so effortlessly to their games. All their games need to have a new set of rules. And I got this idea that maybe the necessity to play as a child comes kind of like as a natural phenomenon in order to conform to the society. So in like other words, the play emerges from the necessity to conform. And what I mean by conforming is that, well, basically wherever we're living, in a city or country or municipality or whatever, there are the laws, but there's also these unwritten rules of behavior with people and stuff. And with playing, maybe we can figure out that kind of like the rules of the game in some sense. And it's not the only role of the playing. I think there's like at least 3 roles. Like one is understanding the rules of the place you are living and your surroundings. And then one is like understanding yourself, because you understand that what type of rules you like and what do you don't want to do and what works for you, what do you find fun, what do you find annoying and stuff. And then there's the third rule that kind of like bonds you to the society, because we all humans have this need to be part of a bigger group, because that makes us feel more safe. And by playing, we are kind of like finding out the rules and finding out stuff from ourselves, and in that way we find kind of like our place in the group, or place in the city, or place in the school, or wherever we are. And then tying this idea of playing to the talk about performativity and these personas. And I got this idea that what if these plays with our persona are kind of like a natural continuation to this childhood play idea. I think a lot of people are kind of like wrongly thinking that as we get older we cannot change anymore, and I guess in some sense that change happens more or less like slower, because of the plasticity in our brains isn't as good anymore. But if we continue this idea of playing and having fun while doing so, maybe we could actually learn even when we're old. Maybe the learning never stops. Anyways, I guess those were just some ideas that I had lying around in my head about this topic of performativity and stuff. And now coming back to talking about playing piano live, I think there is this interesting paradox when it comes to performativity in music, at least for me. Because in order to kind of like be authentic, I need to be performative in the beginning. What I mean by that is that usually when I play publicly, I'm very nervous, as I said before. So being authentic me would mean that I am nervous, and I think a nervous breakdown isn't a desirable outcome for a live performance. So in the beginning it's good to have this idea of that you're actually doing a performance. It's something you dive into, and once you're in there you can start to lose yourself. The self dissipates as the music takes over, and then it's just hoping that you stay in the river and don't get awakened by the other reality in the moment. I don't know if that's being authentic or not. Maybe it transcends that idea, but it's still very interesting. And playing in general, playing music, maybe it is in some ways the same type of a playground as the ones that we were talking about before, all these different games that we can have to figure out what we are made of and what reality is and stuff, because music is a very magical thing. It holds mathematical properties and it can move us. It can move our bodies, it can move our emotions and also change our mood. It's a fascinating thing. So I guess I wanted to play this one song called Cold and Mean to you. It's a important song for me. I wrote it maybe already 2 years ago and it's still finding its form. I think it will have different forms eventually because I like this electric approach that I have had, but I also like a more stripped down version with piano lately. It's a song about struggles and getting through the bad times. It's a song about many things, and I think it has something special in it. I'm sorry if the piano sounds a bit bad through this setup, but I hope that the message still gets through. Breathe in. Breathe out. I want you to know you're never alone. When you need me, I'll be found. Just breathe me in. And breathe out. And when you hear the crying, there's no tomorrow. It is only your shadow sorrow. And do not worry, for it's always there. When there's photons in the air, dark behind, light ahead. And when you feel like you are lost, look for a sign at the cross. And if the sign is torn down, search for a path. In the middle, by the goal, from stars, because